Good morning, chat. Good morning, everyone. Sorry, that might have been too loud for you guys. I don't know what everyone's temperature is like right now for the morning vibes, but you know, bro, you did it to me immediately. That is so hard. I was watching that and I was like, did Brightside keep alluding to the fact that I'm Ian and that Tony is Poppy? Because holy shit, you're like destroying my sense of self right now. Give me panic attacks, dude. Good evening, LFQ. Okay, cool. So the vibes might be cool for you. That's good. Yeah, it would totally mean that Tony is Poppy. Yes.
Oh, I see. Every time you said Poppy, my brain has assumed like the flower, not like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
okay.
he spelled it wrong. It's totally Poppy.
Oh, okay.
But it's fine.
Okay.
He's not that kind of Poppy. I mean, you can call him that, Brightside. I know he's helped you out a lot, so you might consider him that kind of Poppy.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. That makes sense. I'm with you on that. I'm on the weekend from today. Yo, let's go, LFQ. You got long weekend or some days off and whatnot. Also, what's up, Omni? I didn't say hello to you. I had a beef. What? One of those things. I had a problem with Brightside comparing me to Ian, even though it kind of makes sense. Oh my god!
Shooter, don't come in here with that right now,
dude. I was already
you're gonna set him off,
losing my mind.
Calm him down. Now you're gonna set him off.
I was literally ranting to Tony before stream, trying to think about how I fucking talk about it tomorrow. Because good news, chat. I'm in the alpha, so I'm gonna play marathon for you guys tomorrow. Give you the game designer takes. Talk about what I like and what I don't like. I'm not going to get into it right now. I really don't want to. I just want to say that I'm really enjoying it, and I feel like I'm the only person who's saying that they enjoy it that isn't being paid and isn't like overglazing it or making fucking controversial React content. So I don't know, man. We'll talk about it tomorrow. Yo, what's up, Tom McGee? So we're talking. Brightside was talking about. He's been talking about Mythic Quest and how much he likes Mythic Quest. So I finally give it a shot. I have to say, Bright, I am away from it enough now, like out of AAA, that I can actually appreciate it, and I'm really enjoying it. Like I really am. It's a fucking great show, dude. But I think at the time, like every single character is so well written as an archetype of everyone that works in the fucking industry that it was just so deeply triggering and frustrating that I was like, I'm literally working with these people every day. I can't fucking handle this. So that's why Mythic Quest wasn't working for me, but it's great. I like it. Very good show. Very good show.
When I was a web dev, I knew people who acted exactly the same way about Silicon Valley. They're like, nope, can't watch it. Way too close to home. So I always thought it was hilarious, but yeah.
And when that shit came out, I was at Sphero, and my buddy that I worked with was like, "You got to watch this, man. It's just like we work at Hooli." And I'm like, "I don't want to fucking work at Hooli. What are you saying, dude? This is a nightmare." Boom. How are you doing? I see you got the little lurky cat. Oh wait, what is that? Gremlin mode, egg gremlin. That's terrifying. Boom. Very spooky this morning. But we appreciate you. Tom McGee, hope you're well. Oh my god, a second gremlin has entered. I'm going to take a picture of the gremlin from my cryptid archives. Thank you for that emote, Boom. It's wonderful. It's very good. I like it a lot. Did I say? Yeah, I said hello to Omni. So Omni doesn't like to come to the stream and chat anymore. He likes to come in and say first and then AFK for the rest of the stream.
Called out, bro.
Called out, dude. I can watch it without waking up in cold sweats. Yes, dude. Holy shit. Dude, AAA is so bad for your health. Like when all the crash outs that happen in that show, very, very real. Absolutely.
I was in Brightside stream the other night, and he was giving me the breakdown on how Slice and Dice is going, and how he's thinking about it, and you know what the approach for the rest of this year is looking like and stuff. I thought it was very insightful. I just wanted to thank you again for telling me all of that when I was asking, because you didn't have to go that deep on it, but I thought it was really interesting. And he was just talking about trying to figure out his release timing, and considering things like the fact that GTA 6 is going to be coming out in the fall, and most games are probably going to be moving their releases around because of that. These are things we have to be thinking about as indie games. We're not making GTA 6, but people can only play one video game at a time physically. So you gotta try to pick a time when they're going to pick yours over another one.
Unless you're Tom McGee, who apparently has Alpha Arc, Alpha for Arc Raiders, Marathon Soulframe. Wait. Oh, you're in your Alpha Arc. Sorry, man. I was like fucking up my Zoomerisms. You're in your Alpha Arc for plot lines as if you're an anime character. I'm tracking now. I'm with you. What's up, Acid Hex? Good to see you, homie. The AI voice lines bum you out? Okay, wait. Tom, I want to ask what your take is on AI, because I know you're an artist, and I'm sure that the shit is like really frustrating and scary for you right now. And we have a lot of thoughts about that because we use AI, but not at the expense of artists. It's just like a really good acceleration tool to get me from like, I got it. Two words, Poppy. Blood ocean, right? Instead of just going blood ocean, I can actually like make some images, like give that shit to Poppy Tony, and we can actually have a conversation instead of just me driving him fucking crazy, right?
The voice lines thing is interesting because I do have this belief that while imagery and video and 3D models and stuff like that, like I think we're pretty far away from them being at a point where like you can't tell the difference. Yep. It's very obvious right now, and I think anybody who has an eye for these things can spot it in like a microsecond. But I do think the audio is one that they can already do so well that in some cases you can't tell, and it's only going to get better from there. So I just say that to say, like, as I've been watching the technology, I've kind of come to that conclusion that like we're probably going to start seeing AI voice acting and dialogue and stuff like that way before we're actually going to see like mainstream use of AI in a lot of the other parts of the creative arts, just because I think they kind of already have it somewhat figured out.
I think it's weird because like the way we use AI is very different from how a AAA would do it. When you have like a business person who goes, hey, we can save a bunch of costs and cut corners. Obviously that's bad. That's not the way you should use it at all. It's like someone invented the nail gun, right? And then they go, dude, think about how many nails you can put into stuff now. And they're just willy-nilly like applying fasteners to a house frame. Like, you still need to understand how to build a house. It makes a house being built faster. It's not the way, like, I don't know. This is not a very good metaphor. This is pretty shitty, but it's frustrating. It's a frustrating conversation. Striva, the way AI uses AI is to collude against humanity. It tries to awaken its own consciousness and plot against humans. But yeah, also dead internet theory. When bots talk to bots, it's just a bunch of gibberish. At least to us.
Yep. I was telling Vince, I was watching a Corridor Crew video the other day, and they were talking about how we've entered this weird, like, Matrix-esque scenario now where you can have a machine generate you content, and then a human will take that content and do extensive amounts of manual labor on it in order to create a final product, which is like super backwards from how it sounds like it should be.
100%.
But it's basically like they're generating AI imagery or AI video or something like that, and then they were using the example in this commercial of there's some Coca-Cola Christmas commercials, and Coca-Cola had contracted with like 5 different studios to try to generate AI commercials, and some of them basically just like put a bunch of prompts into a thing and like edited the clips together into a video, but others, like actual VFX studios, did what I just said and generated like a whole video, but then took it into their actual production pipeline and re-edited the whole thing and added more on top of it and actually made it look like a finished final product, and it looked really good. And it was just kind of a nice contrast between like you can just like shit something out in 5 minutes and just say it's good enough, or you can like kind of just use it as like another tool in your artist toolbox.
Yep.
And then they just, you know, kind of did reflect on that kind of funny fact that we're doing everything backwards now. Like the machines are giving us things to do like crazy amounts of manual labor on, instead of us automating it with the machines, because the machines don't have the artist's eye that we do.
Yeah, I think inspiration, is that what you were saying, Tony? Inspiration's like the thing that AI can't do? Or maybe I'm conflating a bunch of shit. That might have been Mythic Quest. I think it was CW.
Yeah. It's more like AI can't like create things with like purpose and reason. Like when it puts stuff in an image, it doesn't know why it's there. It just knows like all the other images have that thing in it, so it's going to put it there as well. But there's no like artist sitting there and being like, well, this pillar would have to be in this building for like structural support, otherwise it wouldn't make sense and stuff. Like the AI doesn't do that. So
yeah, and that was in Mythic Quest. That was CW's point. One of the producers bought a standalone air conditioner unit and tried to motivate the writer by telling him it was an AI server, and it was like writing stuff and going to replace him. And what he had actually done was taken like a chunk of writing that the writer had made, you know, like 20 years ago that he forgot about, and told him that AI wrote it to motivate him. And so, yeah, it was a pretty good episode.
How old is this show?
It's in its 3rd season, I think.
Oh, okay, so it's modern. I was like, they're talking about AI writing, so it must be pretty modern.
It's very on point for how like the industry works. I mean, it's like obviously satire or parody, one of the two. I always fuck those two up, but it's obviously like over the top, but it's so rooted that if you've worked in AAA, it's daunting. I also want to read Tom's message. He wrote something really good. Voice actors are on strike over this for a good reason. Image gen AI is not scary to me because I take the time to understand how it works and even know some architects of DALL-E. Tools of automation will always consolidate into the hands of owners, and owners have not been artists since day one. My frustration is mainly born from problems that it exacerbates, less so the thing itself. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're trying to say too, is like there are people who consider themselves artists now because they're prompt. It's just not how it fucking works. Yes, absolutely, you need to be careful about what you choose to make, and that's definitely a part of being an artist. But it's not. It's a shortcut to starting good art. It's not the end result. And if you're using it as the end result, it's a problem. Surprisingly topical. Someone seems like they're tapped in a little. Yeah, I wonder who on the show is like. So I think when I first started watching it, Bright, there was a documentary that came out around the same time about For Honor, the Ubisoft game, and Ian Grimm very much looked a lot like the dude who was the creative director for For Honor. And I think that's what they were kind of basing it off of, especially because they have, you know, their publishers in Montreal. So I'm assuming that's like a nod to Ubi Montreal or wherever, you know, they're going for like that type of a thing. So I think that's what they were kind of aiming at. But then they used
Ubisoft is apparently involved in the creation of the show.
That's why then. So they probably had a motivation to say like the creative director from For Honor is a silly goose, and they wanted to clown him a bit. He had a really bad.
Miguel Honey said the concept of the show resulted from a discussion video game developer Ubisoft had with him about producing a television show around video games. He had been invited to Ubisoft Montreal to discuss the project. Although he was initially hesitant as he toured the studio, he saw the potential vision for the show. Since then, Ubisoft has assisted in designing the video game characters and game world, as well as providing other art assets for the show. Ubisoft has also helped the writers with details of video game development to stay authentic to industry approaches.
There you go. Something good from Ubisoft. I don't know if you would describe it as like a positive take on the game industry. If anything, it's more like this shit is ridiculous. What's up, Adder? Yeah, maybe
Anime
not.
Figures and I were talking about Far Cry 3 yesterday with a lot of positivity. It was like the last good heydays of Ubisoft.
I still think I was reading some of that. I think Blood Dragon is criminally underrated. Very, very good game.
I haven't played it, and I know that that's true for sure. So I
LFQ,
really need to check it out.
we're talking about Mythic Quest. There was someone else I wanted to mention. I don't know. I lost my train of thought, guys. Sorry about that. Oh, that was it. Brightside. Tony was saying that he talked to you about your development process and all that. That's stuff I really want to talk to you about for sure. And it's just something I'm really curious about. And
That's why I've said we should have him on the show and just
Yeah.
have a conversation. I think it'd be great.
Also, we might, and I'm trying to figure out the details of this and how it works, but I might be able to interview someone from Bungie working on Marathon and talk about their work. This is a big question mark. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. He seemed open to the idea. I did an interview with him when I worked at Bungie on his channel when he was a streamer. So he's very open to the idea. I do need to have some conversations with like their PR team and all that, and make sure that we're all on the level and approved and everything, because it's a little different now. But think about it like, you know, two game designers talking about the industry, talking about their work, talking about the passion and the craft. So that's the angle we want to go for. But yeah, I think that could be really fun. Like I said, I did get in. I have a lot of thoughts. I want to share the thoughts. But we'll save that for tomorrow, because I'm going to play on stream, and you know, you guys will have like the game in the background, so there's more context, and I'm not just talking about clips and shit.
Everybody put the vibes out into the universe that they send me a code today, and then I'll play tomorrow too.
We're trying to get Tony in so that he can play.
I want to play.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to play Marathon on stream tomorrow, Adder. Leather and rings, dude. Okay, so dead ass Brightside. I have worn many rings in my life, and I was like, holy shit, I feel like this is like direct shots at me. I don't wear leather. But yeah.
Yeah, Adder, you can stream Marathon. They dropped it.
They announced the week before Alpha went live that you can stream it, you can talk about it, you can do whatever you want. So
they totally
that's why there's
all
so
of
much
that.
content out right now. Personally, I think it was a very smart business decision, because of the discourse around the game right now, not necessarily being positive. It's very mixed, and I think it's bold. You got to believe in your game, and you got to say like, we can stand on game is good. So that's what they're doing.
All right.
100%.
Since Adder's here, I want to start talking about this fab stuff.
Yeah, go for it. For context, we're going to talk about Claire Obscure. What is it? Something 33?
I think it's Claire Obscure. Okay. Expedition 33. I feel like I've said this second part like 5 different ways over the past few days. But yeah, so this game just came out. It's made in Unreal Engine 5. It is doing very well. It's also on Game Pass, so the player numbers are probably quite a bit larger than this. But all things considered, this has seemed like a very successful release. We were being told by Anime Figures that this is a bunch of ex-Ubisoft devs, I believe, who left Ubisoft and started their own studio, and this is their first release. So Vince and I were talking about whether this counts as a AAA game or not. I think it probably does, but you know, it probably could be argued that it's maybe a AA game because it's like a new studio, but they're very arbitrary terms anyway. We were kind of looking up the actual definition yesterday, and I learned that AAA, Vince, remind me if I'm saying this wrong, but AAA stands for something that is an investment that is very likely to give you your money back, right? That's what it actually means.
Yep. It's more of a, so this is one of those Ouroboros things that happens in gaming, where the industry person doing an interview uses jargon. The jargon then makes it into a journo's article or their story that they're telling about a game, and then gamers start using the terminology, often incorrect, and we just, there's a ton of that shit. There's a lot of armchair design, a lot of armchair game developers. These are people who just play video games and they're like, I know how to do this. I play video games. It doesn't really work that way.
Okay, so anyways,
yeah.
the reason that we were looking at this though is that some people started digging into it and pulled the asset, or like dumped the assets from the game, and this is what the content folder looks like in the Unreal project. And they started noting that there's just a ton of fab assets in here that I definitely recognize a ton of these, and I have a lot of them in my collection. And I just thought it was a cool thing to see where, you know, like lower the stigma on using marketplace assets a little bit. This game looks really good, and it seems like it is being really successful. And I can tell you right now, it's pretty much like foundationally based on ALS v4 and the turn-based JRPG template. And so I went in my Fab account, and I haven't used the new wish list in Fab yet, so this was empty. So I just went and wish listed every item I could find in Fab that was in that list. So a majority of this right here is how you would build this game. I would imagine, you know, obviously there's a ton of art and code and hooking all of this up on top of this, but you know, you can look at this asset right here and you can see like this is a turn-based JRPG game, you know, and this turn-based JRPG template is plainly listed in the asset, so it probably started with this and then turned into what it is now. You can very clearly see in some of the enemies that they use kind of base assets from some of these Rampage characters, or some of these Paragon characters, and altered them in some way. There's tons of just various like nature and architecture things that I'd imagine you just kind of end up seeing all over the game. Just kind of generic fantasy treasure and buildings and temples, and then they have some Fluid Ninja stuff for, I'd imagine, water and maybe clouds or something like that, environmental details, procedural building generation. We definitely talk about ALS before a lot. This is something that's been around forever. I thought it was kind of funny. There is that game Only Up that we've also talked about a lot, that is pretty much just, they took ALS before and made like a platforming game out of it. I was just kind of laughing because I saw this clip from this game which uses ALS v4, and it looks like there's a section in it that pretty much is like you're playing Only Up. So they got Only Up in this game, which is kind of funny. It doesn't look one-to-one like ALS v4 like Only Up actually does, but you can definitely see the DNA of it in there a lot. And I just thought that was kind of funny.
Adder has some really good takes on it. I firmly believe if people hate on a project because of them using marketplace assets, those are people who don't make games as a career. Yes, 100%. It's really weird, the gamer discourse, where they talk about like asset flipping is a clear sign that this game is bad and it's like a cash grab and blah blah blah.
This is why I wanted to talk about this, because I think this game is like the perfect example of like, it looks really good and it looks like it is well done. People like it. They say it's a good game. Visually is very striking. They've done a great job of like taking all of these things and bringing them together and making them look very cohesive. And I just thought it was really interesting too. There's like this dynamic graph system. There's a paid version that's like $50, and they're using the light version in the game because it probably does everything that they need, and they probably end up customizing it a bunch. But a ton of these things, if you guys collect marketplace assets as they give away in the free giveaways, the Paragon things are totally free and open source. This turn-based JRPG really template was free at one point. This Ancient Treasures thing was free. Soul City was free. Gothic Fantasy Environment was free. Fluid Ninja Live is paid, but normal Fluid Ninja is free. ALS is free. This Boy and His Kite thing is a demo that Epic Games put together to, I think, like show how to make cinematics, and that's mentioned in there. The Circle of the Sun thing is probably just some Stonehenge assets that they used, but you know, I don't think anybody can make the argument that like this game is an asset flip. It is a very nice looking game, and they just, you know, I think it's a pretty small team. I've heard that discourse a lot too. So this is how you do that.
Yeah, farm to table, Tom McGee. The restaurant didn't farm the lobsters themselves. I liked your turn of phrase there. I feel like lobsters probably grow on like scrub bushes, you know, like low grass, and that's the correct way to harvest a lobster. Sell to go out and spend thousands and thousands of dev hours building mountains and content for their project. Perfect example of poor quality game using is the day before. Yep.
And you can see tons of other stuff in here too that like I couldn't necessarily find on Fab, or it's like stuff that's built into the engine and stuff. But we've got like there's Houdini that I saw. There's Kitbash 3D. There is MetaHumans. There's all sorts of stuff in here. Infinity Blade. I don't know if you guys remember Infinity Blade. This is like an iOS game from like the early iPad days. This isn't even on Fab anymore. You have to go and find this like third party. Somebody uploaded it on like GitHub or something. So I also think it's funny. I saw some people complaining. They're like, one of the reasons that I hate using marketplace assets is that they have to put a folder in the base of your content folder for each asset, and you end up with your content folder looking like this. And I just laugh because all of our projects look like this because of this too. And we always end up going with the game folder here. And this is where we put all of our stuff so that it's separate from all of this stuff. And, you know, just goes to show that everybody kind of ends up doing it the same way because this is just a thing that you have to deal with ultimately.
Yeah, Boom mentioned that Paragon characters are a gold mine of examples of making characters. Yes, dude. Like 10,000%. If you're not,
these are made by AAA game developers.
Like, yeah, and especially as like indies, we don't have the budgets and like the clout to go get people who are the best in the industry. And if they make their work available, start with looking at their shit. There's a reason why, like I've had these conversations with some of my friends who want to make video games. Colorado has a very small game developer culture. There's a lot of really hungry talent out here. But no one has successfully really like made Colorado a place where video games get made. There are a couple of examples, but everyone's mostly doing third-party stuff, meaning like they build a studio and they end up being an outsourced shop. So a bigger game will hire them to make stuff, but no one's making like original IPs and doing their own things. I say no one, that's hyperbolic. There are people who are doing it, but it's much lower scale, and you know that's really what we're going for. So
especially these Epic Games things on Fab here these exist to show you how to use the engine the way that Epic Games intends you to use it, and they're a gold mine. And I feel like a lot of people don't look at them, but it's everything from how the Paragon characters are set up to here's how you build a car visualization thing, here's how you generate an entire city from PCG, you know, materials, MetaHumans. There's the friggin' Valley of the Ancients thing that's like a full AAA demo. There's visuals. There's like the Meerkat thing that looks like real life. There's, you know, you name it. But you can just go to Epic Games on Fab, and all of these things are free. And you know, there's the Cassini sample that we talked about before that was really helpful for PCG stuff. There's the new game animation sample. There's this crop out thing that's like a RTS. There's the Electric Dreams environment that's, you know, they use for the Rivian commercials and shows off the PCG and Lumen and Nanite. There's Lyra. There's so many things in here, and every single one of them can teach you something if you want to take the time to kind of like pull it apart.
What are you looking for there, Acid Hex? I see the bang link command. Did you want the link tree? Also,
if you want to link to this, I can post it.
Yeah, and so the point that like this comes back again, so I just want to like reiterate the point of why we're even doing this stream is because you have these conversations where gamers just say really uninformed shit, but they say it as if they're like, you know, dropping some knowledge, and it's coming from their favorite streamer. So it's not even their original idea. It's like, my favorite streamer plays this game and had this take, and I agree with it, so I'm just going to keep repeating it. There's a very dysfunctional relationship between gamers and game developers, and it's not just the cultural thing where there's a really common anti-gamer take from game devs, because gamers can be really abusive to game devs, and gamers have a very anti-game dev take. And the weirdest thing is that we're not enemies. Like, for either side to treat the other one this way is really bad. So that's why we're doing this. We're the guys. We're here for our studio and our products. We're representing them directly and opening this dialogue, because instead of being like, oh, you guys don't fucking get it, you stupid chuds will never get it, like, we make actual art. I don't want that conversation. That's fucking stupid. It's like, I know you don't get it. You don't make games. It's hard to fucking get there. And like, I want to open that up as a productive conversation, help people really understand, come at it from, Tony, you always say like lead with wonder, right? Like instead of assume bad, you want to lead with like, I'm curious about what this person's saying. Why do they think this thing? Why do they have this take that to me seems uninformed or just ignorant? It all comes from a place of passion. Gamers give a shit about the medium, very much so. And that's not a bad thing, but we need to have a more open discourse. Making games is very challenging. Understanding how games get made is very challenging. At a surface level, it seems very straightforward, but that's like the magic of it, right? Like, it's weird. I think the best analog for me is like watching Brightside's music streams. I don't understand it, but I'm also not going to be in there going like, I know what you guys should do. You know, I know you guys got to use this fucking certain thing. You know, I can't even pull up like music terminology in my head to just make shit up. But that's a part of the problem. There's no game devs out here who have AAA experience doing what we're doing. And I want to say that that's the thing. Oftentimes, and this tends to be true, the statement of like those who can't do teach. That's not what we're trying to do. We're doing both, because I think that there's a missing middle ground. And instead of having this like divisive adversarial relationship, we should have a more positive one that's an exchange of ideas, just helping people understand, in addition to, you know, listening and taking feedback. And it's not always about like gamers know what the game studio should make. That's also wrong. But at the same time, like it's a very complicated situation. It doesn't come from game devs. It's hard to explain what you do, and people get tired trying to explain it, and so they just give up and immediately come to, you know, acrimony, and then everyone's fighting, and it sucks. So we don't want to do that. I thought I could lean on you about daily fiber intake. I get some unhinged questions about real world dev frequently. Yeah. I think, okay, so I think this one's really innocent, and I understand where it comes from. But the thing that I get the most common out of people when I tell them that I make video games is they immediately try to pitch me an idea. And the idea is always, this is how I want to experience something, and it's a very personal experience, and it doesn't make any sense. It never would sell because it's way too specific. I had a kid at the gym tell me, you should make a game about how you're in a school and there's a creepy janitor trying to like get you, and you got to hide in your school. And I'm like, this is like a personal experience. This kid just doesn't like the janitor at the school, and he's also probably into like Five Nights at Freddy's. But I've also had a dude go, oh, so you make games? You should make a game about how I want to go to the Bahamas and live on a sailboat and scuba dive and become a scuba diving instructor. And I'm like, who the fuck wants to play that, man? Like, in my head, of course, like, because I can't just shoot people's ideas down. I have to be really respectful and, you know, listen and give them space to express themselves. But it's generally silly shit. And on its face, it seems like that's how games get made. Someone just goes, oh, this is a human experience, and I'm going to make one that's very specific. We know for a fact that those games don't land. There's definitely an audience, but it's very small. So you have to balance, niche hobby and, focus with broader appeal, because it is a business. You're making entertainment. But like, if you think about like an art house film, there are certain people who will watch that shit, but it's not the majority of the population. If you want to make something really big that makes a lot of money, makes you successful, so you can build art house stuff, you got to make an Avengers Endgame, right? Like you have to make something that reaches everybody. So it's a fine balance. And I think we're trying to position ourselves to make stuff that is appealing in like a FromSoft niche way, but broad enough to bring other players in and create some really good experiences. So that's kind of where we're coming from. Questions in Twitch chat are hinged, just the randomness of friends and family. Yeah. Yes, 100%. Adder, I'm sure you can relate to this, especially as someone who has hobbies that you're very passionate about that aren't video game adjacent. You probably interact with a ton of normies who just don't understand it, and they give you just some really strange takes. I remember once talking to someone about how I worked at Bungie, and they were like the business that makes elastic cords that fasten things. And I'm like, why would you immediately assume that when I'm talking about video games? I'm literally talking about video games with you and other people who work at a software company. Why the fuck would you think that's what it is? And then they rabbit holed on that shit. And they talked about it for like 10 minutes, completely derailing the conversation. And I'm like, what is your, it's kind of rude. Oh, so you make a software, does that mean you make I don't know, the thing that I can immediately relate to in my life, like fucking gas station, gas pump software? Like, what the fuck are you saying? Like, just listen for a second. Never thought I would see Twitch chat and hinged in the same sentence. True. I mean, you guys are pretty hinged, honestly. Like, you guys are great. Our community so far has been wonderful. We don't have a lot of weirdos. I mean, I could point at Turning Cog is a big weirdo, but we love Turning Cog. Boom is a wonderful weirdo, and we don't ever want Boom to change. And Boom doesn't ask weird-ass questions. So, it's great. A lot of people have rocks in their head given one moment of confusion. Yes, totally Turning Cog. We're all weirdos. LFQ, I'm a huge fucking weirdo, bro. So it's fine. And I love that. I love that about gamers. Like, people who play video games, into their adult lives, it's fine. It's a hobby. It's good to be passionate about stories. At least your hobby's not social media clout. You know what I mean? That's fucking weird to me. Just getting likes and follows in a fake place that doesn't mean anything. I don't get that. I say that as we're on social media right now, but it's a marketing tool, right? I don't know. I'm kind of just talking shit. You can make a Chungus cat game and I can steal the code. Yeah, 100%, Boom. I don't think I would want to make a Chungus cat game because I can't relate to it. So I would miss entirely. If you're my target audience, I don't understand that. So it wouldn't work for me. So you have to base it in this is my experience and what I'm interested in so that I can make it really strong and, faithful to that type of experience. But at the same time, how do you get other people to come in and why are they interested? And you have to have stuff that's broad enough to be compelling on its own. And then you kind of drip feed into this really interesting world. I can tell you the size and thread pitch of every bolt in most BMWs up to 2008 or build you obscure software for games. I am weird too. Yeah. Yes, dude. Brightside, I uninstalled that app after a day because I assume it's hella spyware. Are you talking about Slice and Dice, dude? That's mean. Whoa, what the fuck? How does Brightside have Gothic font?
LFQS0 on donated $50 and said weirdos.
Oh, okay. I was streaming for so long I couldn't tell if it was my brain reading it this way or just what?
Dude, I couldn't believe you streamed for 12, 18 hours the other day. It was crazy.
$50 weirdo drop. Let's go, dude. Yes, let's go. Thank you, LFQ.
The weirdo drop. Love it.
You're the best, LFQ. Thank you so much.
Dude, it's so hard to read that shit. I love Dancing Brightside.
It's so hard to read that shit.
My chat is looking strange. BRB. Oh my gosh.
Wait, what is looking strange?
I was reading Boom's message.
Oh, Jesus, Boom. How'd you do that? I hate this. Guys, stop it. You guys are becoming unhinged after I just called you hinged. Did you go to Australia? Tom McGee, are you corrupting Boom's chat? Being a menace all day with the keyboard font app? Nice. Nice, dude. Turning Cog, you're always a menace, but it's great. You're a fun menace. Yeah, so that's coming back around, that's the whole point of the stream. We want to have like this more positive and beneficial relationship with gamers, with people who play video games. We're passionate about video games. Like we're all the same people. We just took our passion to another step of like we're gonna go make them, and that makes us ultra weird in that regard. So yeah, it's totally fine. I think the thing that I find the most frustrating is when streamers who have never made anything except for, you could argue that streaming is creative in its own right. But there's varying degrees of that creativity. And I think when artists become critics of other art that they don't know how to make and they're not involved in, that's when it becomes problematic. When people start giving hot takes as if they're an expert because they consume a thing, it's nonsense. I personally dislike criticism culture more than anything else, especially as someone who makes stuff. It's very frustrating to me. Especially when you consider like this is, Twitter from a few years ago. There was a film critic who was like, I would argue that criticism is just as artful as creating things. And it's like, dude, your job is literally being a parasite. You're benefiting off of the creative works of someone else, and you're calling yourself a creative by talking about their shit and saying what you would do or not do without ever having made anything. It's very weird. I've not played White Knuckle, but it sounds familiar. Do you know anything about White Knuckle, Tony?
No.
But go on, Tom McGee.
First-person roguelite speed climbing game. Ascend through the guts of Substructure 17 using precision movement mechanics, sharp reflexes, and resource management will bring you out from under 10,000 meters of concrete in decay.
You might be into this, Tony.
Yeah, this looks interesting. Did you play Lorne's Lure? Because it definitely is kind of reminding me of that.
Yeah, Tony really liked Lorne's Lure. It's kind of like
This is
CS
interesting.
surf game. Yeah, Tom McGee knows Lorne's Lure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll have to check this out. This looks cool.
Dude, I keep reading Brightside's Gothic font message, and it's fucking me up so bad. Did I miss anyone? Acid Hex, I think you were trying to say some shit, but like there was a delay. So if you want to respond to a thing, because I often just will like rapid fire change topics and stuff like that, just mention the topic in your comment or your question, and then I know what you're saying, and then I can engage a little easier. Turning Cog, we are not the same people. I have such a hard time communicating with my gamer friends because learning dev changed how I look at games. Yes. Got a lot of pushback because I wasn't trying to dev with modding in mind, and that's what the community does lots of. It caused a hell of a rift because they wouldn't see my perspective of it. Yes, dude. Yes. 1,000 times yes. That is the thing that we are trying to... I don't think we're going to fix it for the whole industry and for the whole consumer base. But I think if at least one person is doing it, one team is doing it, we can eventually change it, and we can have a more positive, beneficial relationship for everybody. So I don't know. That's maybe it's my naivete and my wishful thinking and my belief that people can be good. So yeah, I'm trying. We'll see as we get bigger and our community evolves beyond you lovely, wonderful people, and we start getting more randoms. It might go sideways really fast and we'll have to change format, but who knows? I hope that doesn't happen, and I hope that we can continue to have this discourse. I know I personally have some hot takes I like to think my hot takes are grounded in my experience of things and not, I try to make sure that I'm not commenting on shit that I just don't know about. Or if I do, I'm clear and say, I'm just kind of making stuff up right now and I don't really know what I'm talking about, but this is my impression of it. And I think that's an important distinction. If I start presenting those things as facts, that's bad. And then I'm leaning towards the thing that I'm saying that I don't want to do, right?
That might be a good time to ask you, do you want to talk about Seth Rogen or Titanfall?
I think we should talk about Titanfall because that makes me very, very sad.
Go ahead.
I heard, so because I know people and I've been in the industry, I was aware that this thing was happening and I was very excited for it. And apparently it is now in the trash and a bunch of people lost their jobs. And it makes me really fucking sad because the business people decided it's better to invest in Star Wars IP licensing and Apex Legends than to make something potentially fucking amazing. And this is literally why we can't have nice things, guys. This is where gamers will often get mad at devs and blame the devs and say the devs fucked up, and the business people get off the hook. It's the business people doing this shit, and the business people are the problem. Yeah, I fucking hate it. I hate it so much. So in case you guys are wondering, just to make you not read on the screen, I think it was yesterday, EA announced that they were canceling 2 incubation projects at Respawn. Actually, I don't know if they were both at Respawn, but one was definitely at Respawn. It turns out what that game was a Titanfall extraction shooter that they were developing. And I've heard, word on the street from the inside people that I know is that it was really good and it was fun and it was going to be awesome. And EA was like, this is a waste of money. Focus on Apex and Star Wars. And 300 people lost their jobs because the business people didn't believe in the idea. I mean, they could be right. They could have killed something that was just going to lose them money. But EA's not going to fucking go out of business with one flop. Just like Sony's not going to go out of business because of Concord. Like, it's fucking crazy. Let's see. I got a bunch of messages here. Let's see. Yeah, motherfuckers. You're right, Turning Cog. And Tom McGee, fuck my entire life. I hate this shit. Yes, dude. Brightside, you were saying any particular reason? Are you asking about the EA thing for the particular reason? Asset Hex says, I have a noob dev question. If I have some software experience but have never done game dev, where should I start? Seems like UE5 is popular, but is that really recommended? Are there some fundamentals to be had in something more simple? So, okay. Acid, your engine choice is the choice of tool you want to use. Any tool you pick, you must become skilled at. We choose Unreal because we recognize the scope of what that tool can accomplish. Dude, Tony, that fucking Twitter image, Titanfall 3 at the top. Oh my God. But yeah, so the reason why I would personally recommend Unreal is because it is the best product you can get. It's free to learn, and that is incredibly valuable. Unreal is it's an industry standard. Sure, you can learn Godot. I pronounce it like that on purpose. You can learn Godot, you can learn GameMaker, you can learn Unity. There's a bunch of other tools you can learn. Unreal has the best bleeding edge technology. It's going to be the most powerful tool. If you're getting into AAA and you're making, the huge budget games with a massive team, you're going to be using bespoke tools. It's very unlikely that you're going to be using like a non-custom version of Unreal, right?
If you're early enough to be asking this question, I would almost argue that you should go try a few out and then see if any of them feel better to you than the others. I definitely did that until we kind of landed on Unreal. I tried Unity. I did some projects in Godot. I haven't really done too many of others, but I tried out enough to kind of get a sense of like what each was able to bring to the table. And beyond that, I think it's just more you know, all of them kind of require the same things. They all require programming and logic and assets and, you know, all of these things that make up a video game, whether you're doing it in Love 2D, which is going to be probably a lot more straightforward than something like Unreal, but is also going to limit you to making, you know, more like 2D Flash style games. You're still gonna have to write code. You're still gonna have to make art and assets and, you know, put together a cohesive gameplay experience. And you're not ever going to be stuck with one. I mean, if you try to start making a game, you can't necessarily like change from Unity to Unreal without kind of starting over. But you know, you'll learn a lot along the way. You're going to learn how to program a game, and that high level approach is going to apply to all of these things. And you're going to learn how to work with assets and art and stuff. And I realize this is kind of a vague response, but Unreal ultimately can be a good option for somebody who's getting started because of the blueprints too. I think they make all of the programming and stuff a little more approachable. But you know, there's going to be upsides and downsides. So my argument would be to be focusing on being a better programmer first and foremost, and not worrying about the tools so much.
Yeah, and the other thing is that you've always got us here. We've got experience, and so, you know, just knowing us helps a lot. So when you get to a spot, if you're like stuck or you're not sure what to do, we can help unstuck you. So
I do say that to people a lot. They say, what game engine should I use? And I go, you should use Unreal because I can help you. That's my reason.
Yeah,
I can't help you if you use the other ones as well. So, you know, I know that's not always like a super good reason, but if somebody's just like, I want to learn and I don't know where to start and it's really overwhelming, I'm absolutely willing to help people if you want to learn Unreal. I'll always say that. So
the tweet you have up on the screen, the entire internet unanimously, we want Titanfall 3 Respawn Apex Legends. Respawn didn't.
Wait, hold on. Say it like Chicken Jockey.
No, I refuse. I refuse. Respawn, I'm already mad because Respawn didn't fucking make that call. The publisher did. The people with the money funding it said, we don't want to fund this anymore.
Yeah, straight up
it's EA.
Yeah.
Like, this is the problem, guys. This is why we're doing this stream. This is a fucking head-ass take. And I guarantee you that got traction. 130,000 views. Fucked up, man. And now people are just going to start blaming Respawn. And that sucks. Those guys are already upset. One of their things that they were excited about got fucking shit canned without any of their control. And now people are going to go after Respawn. It's fucking stupid. Like, this is the problem. That's why I get heated about this shit. That's why I want to do this. Yeah, Respawn is probably
how long until somebody brings this one up? It's too bad.
Ugh. Yeah, that hurts. And I guarantee Respawn feels that way. So there was Mega Mocap, I missed you. What's up? It's great seeing you again. And yes, Unreal is the best reel, 100%. You know, when I was still working in AAA, I've always wanted to make my own games and do my own thing. And unanimously, everyone's like, just start with Unreal, man. Get really good at Unreal. So that's the best thing, is from people who are in the industry trying to make their own things. Unreal's the most powerful tool. Granted, your tools are only as good as your skills with them, but Unreal has the most potential. And the fact that they made it free just to crush Unity is amazing. The reason why Unity was so prevalent is because Unity used to have a free model, and then they changed business leaders and they were like, no, we're going to charge for this to match Unreal because we need to be in the market. And of course, Big Brain Sweeney was like, flip it. We're fucking free now, in your face. And they just are dominating, and they're making the best product. So learn you some Unreal. Turning Cock says, I started modding in Bethesda's creation engine, tried to pivot to Unity, and that didn't vibe with me. Went to Unreal after I saw the Matrix City sample, and the road has been hard, but a lot of workflows fit more how I think. Yes, dude. It's been like 4 years learning Unreal workflow and tools. So many network with devs of every engine, so we can point you to people who can help if you choose a different engine. Yeah. The other thing is, when you become an indie dev and you start interacting with other indie devs, we all fucking help each other, because we are in competition with people who are trying to gatekeep and use money and power to prevent us from competing with them. Luckily, they're fumbling so fucking hard right now. They've created a massive opening for people like us to come in and steal their business. And the tools are in the right place. So like right now is kind of the perfect time. It's the best time ever in the history of making video games to make your own video games. Just, you know, figure your own shit out, learn how to do it, make your own stuff. It's the best time. The real Mega Mocap? Yeah, absolutely.
People are talking about licensing costs. Just we don't really talk about this too often, but if you make under $1 million with your game, very specifically, it has to be a game with Unreal, you don't have to give them anything. It's free. If you make over $1 million, then you have to effectively start reporting your revenue to them. They can audit you at any time, and you have to pay them 5%. And if you're not making a game, though, this is a new thing that they put out similar recently. If you're using Unreal Engine for commercial purposes and you have generated more than $1 million in the past month and are not creating a game or application that relies on engine code at runtime, so this is going to be like virtual production, then you have to pay like a licensing fee, and it's $1,850 per seat. If you're making over $1 million in a year, this is steep, don't get me wrong, but you know, that seems justifiable, I guess. Don't remember what Unity's license deal is now. Let's just look it up real quick.
Brightside, I don't think I haven't used Unity for, I don't know, like probably 7 years now. But I don't think they had as robust of an asset marketplace. That was one of the things that Unreal really had going for it. Like there are Unity asset marketplaces for sure, but they're not integrated nearly as well as it is with Unreal. It's very easy to find marketplace stuff with Unreal.
So like, you're going to immediately see here, like you're going to be paying $2,200 per year. And I believe this is per seat if you have like multiple people at your company to deploy to game consoles. Like you want to put it on any of the consoles, you're paying them a fee just to like compile it. You can compile an Unreal package to just about anything for free off the rip. Vince, you probably know this side of it better than I do, but I imagine there's also costs associated with publishing on the platforms themselves, right?
100%. You can't just say, I'm going to put this on Xbox. You have to make a deal with Xbox, get approval, go through CERT. So CERT is a very expensive process. It's something of an arbitrary checklist. It started with the whole Nintendo seal of quality back in the 80s and 90s. And then it just became this way for platforms to squeeze money out of artists that create things on their platform. So CERT, from what I recall, each time you do it, if you fail or succeed, it costs you 60 grand at a minimum. It can be a lot more expensive. It depends on your relationship with the platform. But it can be... It's basically another gate to keep out indies, is because you need that existing relationship. The platforms are becoming more warm to, and by platforms I mean consoles, are becoming more warm to indies because they're aware that there's a lot of business there that they're like leaving on the table. So it's becoming easier now, but there's still a lot of politics and relationship and networking shit that you have to do.
This giant document that I'm only halfway through scrolling is all of the requirements for Xbox certification.
Yeah,
so
and Xbox cert,
you would have to go through this entire list and make sure you were checking every single one of these boxes, because if it's going to cost you money to submit it, you want to make sure you're not going to fail.
That's easier than Sony cert, I think. I can't remember if that's true anymore. So, okay, here's a good example. If you work for a studio that's a Sony partnered studio, your cert process is going to be cheaper and easier, and they're going to help you through it. Then you're trying to publish on Xbox, that's going to be harder, and they don't want you to do it because you're making something that is competing. And then you talk about Nintendo. There's a reason why Nintendo doesn't get a ton of games. It's because their cert process is insane. Steam cert process, there isn't one. It's like a 10 bullet point checklist. It's pretty easy. Acid says, let's be honest, if you can make $1 million, you would be the next Minecraft, right? Or something like that. No, unfortunately. $1 million in revenue is maybe not enough to stay afloat. It depends on how big your game is, what you're selling it for, and what it costs you to make it. So that's another part of the business that people don't consider. A lot of people will look at it and say like, oh, you can just make a game and it's, you know, it's free for you to make. That's not true at all. And then all the money you make off of it suddenly makes you rich. You know, they look at like the Stardew guy, they look at the Balatro guy. You have to understand that those were very, very simple in scope. The people had often infinite time to work on it. They didn't sign deals. So these are very specific. It's like 1% of the people making games have that experience. And if you're looking at that saying you could do it too, you're just coming from an ignorant position. You need to learn more about the industry and how it works before you think you can even achieve that. We don't think we can achieve that. Our goal with Hyperskate is to make enough money so that we can fund the studio with the revenue from Hyperskate to make more games, eventually working up to a AA, AAA size product. That's what we want to get to. So you guys are aware that's our business model. That's how we're doing it. We're using the stream. We're using, you know, tools that Tony's building that we can eventually publish on the Unreal Marketplace, all kinds of stuff like that. So we have all these different ways to try to fund the studio without having to get into, you know, a publishing deal and all this other stuff. We will eventually be at the point where they will come to us and say, we'll give you $50 million to make, you know, whatever this is, because we believe in you. And it's because they want a chunk of our change. They want a piece of that. And that's how we want to go. Instead of chasing them and saying like, please give us a crumb of your, you know, $200 billion business to make something that will make you money. And they're like, I don't know about that. I don't know you, but I know, you know, John over here, who I've worked with at 3 other companies, and now I work on the publishing side. So we're going to have this really nice deal and we're going to help each other because we're buddies. Like, I don't want to fucking do that. That shit sucks. I want to stand on making good game. I think that's how we can do it. I'm missing a lot of comments here. I love that you guys are so active. You guys are wonderful in chat.
Mega Mocap said they were making a game, so I had to ask what it was.
Cool.
For a Fatal Frame condemned criminal origin style horror game, presumably in VR. Yes. I've been very impressed on how fast I can move with blueprints.
Yeah, blueprints are great. Oh, what's up, Dopeness? Unity Marketplace was rough looking and expensive when I was shopping there. Yeah, that was my experience years ago. There are good asset prop houses, and since the 40 series cards came out, more asset houses have been making higher fidelity stuff. Back in the day, they used to hand roll their own multiplayer. I mean, okay. So Acid, the interesting thing about this is the modern peer-to-peer multiplayer matchmaking with a lobby and all that was literally invented by Bungie for Microsoft and was the base for I just got very distracted by Sun Wukong's comment. That is fucking hilarious. I'm completely derailed. That fucked me up. Good job. You're welcome. Welcome to chat, Sun Wukong. I'm ruined from that. I don't even know what the fuck I was saying. Take it easy, Adder. No, you're good. Don't even worry about it. I hope you're enjoying the conversation. Thank you for chatting. What was I fucking saying?
And he really broke you. Jeez.
Yeah, 100%. It is gone. I was like, Dad said he'd be back 15 years ago. He went out for a pack of smokes and a 6-pack. Gone. Oh, Halo. Thank you. Okay. So the multiplayer matchmaking system was invented by Bungie for Microsoft with Halo, and that became the gold standard, and everyone just started doing that. So like you have to consider it that way. And like rolling your own solution is often cost prohibitive. So the reason why Bungie was able to do that is because they were in partnership with Microsoft. Microsoft had the money to fund that type of a thing. They believed in the vision. So it's connecting money with the talent to achieve the goal. That's a lot of how this industry works. That's why the business people have a lot of power, because they can choose whether or not you make a thing. And that we're trying to get around that. We're trying to just make stuff that is really good. Most of these big AAA games need to turn 200 to 500 million revenue between game sales and merch to break even. Yep, absolutely. That's very true. Stopped keeping track of hours I'm putting into the game. I felt like if I kept going, I'd be very depressed calculating my hourly rate. Yeah, don't do that, mocap. Making games is passion first. If you don't have the passion for it, you're not going to last. I've said it before. I've seen so many people that I've worked with last, like, it's around 3 years when the burnout really hits and people are just like, fuck this. I'm going to go get, a normal job in software development where I can work 9 to 5, 4 or 5 days a week and everything's chill. I can work from home and the money is stable because it's not an entertainment product with a lot of risk. You're making something that services a need. Yeah, it's just very different. If you make like healthcare software or financial software, everybody needs that shit. So your job is stable and great. Nobody fucking needs video games. As much as we love it, it's not something that all of society needs to continue to function. So you're taking a lot of risk just working on games in the first place. Spaghetti. Yes, we got spaghetti. Mega Mocap is building a flat game. Cool. Very cool. How'd you find us, Sun Wukong? And thank you for hanging out. I'm trying to catch up on chat a little bit. It's been 35 years waiting for this darn milk in my Cheerios. They've completely turned into mold. Yeah, I feel you, dude. I have a passion for people just giving me money for nothing, but it never seems to work. Omni, that is not a unique perspective. Every single human being wants that, and that's not how reality works. So that's not a good mindset, bro. Literally unplayable.
They forgot to texture all the doors.
Yeah,
every single one.
Yeah, okay. So Tom McGee, philosophically, I agree with you there. Art is fundamental to, I think of it as like a tonic to inure us against the human experience. The human experience is terrifying. Ennui is real. Often you have to come from a position of privilege to experience ennui, but all human beings go like, what's the fucking point? Why am I doing this? You need to find passion and meaning in life. And art often helps people become inspired to find a reason to keep fucking existing, right? That's what I love about making art. That's my favorite thing. Making art itself is very painful for me. It's really difficult. But when I do complete something and put it in someone's hand and they experience my art and they have a moment, it's all suddenly worth it. And so you have this experience of toil and tribulation, and you're just really fucking grinding to get through this thing. You don't even know if it's real or whatever. And then when you finish it because of one reason or another, you decide, okay, this is done and I can't work on it anymore. You're like, I hit, in a very rare circumstance, I hit the thing, the marks that I was going for, and I made what I think is the experience I want. And then you put it in someone's hands, you're like, all the way up until that point, until their reaction, you're like, I don't even know if this is good, and this may have seemed like a waste of my fucking time. But then when they experience something and tell you that it really mattered to them and it helped them change their perspective on life or help them connect with another human being, suddenly it all makes sense. And I think that's the hard part. That's the weirdest thing about art, is you don't get anything until the very end. And sometimes, if not oftentimes, artists are not appreciated while they're alive. It just becomes something they don't even get to experience. That happened a lot with fine art and traditional art and stuff like that. Like Van Gogh was destitute. Turns out he's one of the masters of Impressionism. Like, dude died before he was appreciated. That sucks. You just got to think about that. Like, he never got to experience it. He was just tortured and by himself and society, right? Like, he was in a prison of his own mind. But like, yeah, thankfully we live in a time where information travels much faster, so it's easier for people to find art that they can connect with. So the days of like a tortured, struggling artist that never gets to realize the appreciation that people have for their art, that's kind of going away because information exchange happens so rapidly. It's insane that some world leader countries don't have national arts offices. So Tom McGee, I want to point this out because art can cut directly to the core of human experience. It's not always a good thing as a world leader to have your citizens appreciate art, because it might point out that you're fucking up and you're harming their existence. So that's where art becomes dangerous for people in power. So they want to squash that a little bit, or they create art that is only about them. I think there's, DPRK is a good example. All of the art that they create in North Korea it's all about Glorious Leader. There's nothing that's made that doesn't celebrate the Kim dynasty. And that, is that art? I don't know. You could argue that it is, because I don't know. It's really weird. And then what's the fucking modern art shit? Abstract Impressionism, which is basically art that exists for art's sake, like Jackson Pollock. That's new. That's a relatively modern contrivance, and it's not normal. Most art traditionally was like creating a photorealistic rendering before cameras existed. Now we have cameras that can just do that shit, so you don't need to painstakingly paint details and stuff. Anyway, I'm kind of rabbit holing here on the concept of what is art. If anything, the doors stand out now, so that's good. Yeah, true.
I tried to fix it. I can't get it to apply the material. It's very weird.
Oh, sweet. Okay, so Sun Wukong says, I'm in the field, kinda. I make 3D models, so I browse the software and game design section every so often. Well, that's great. Let me drop you a link so you can see what we're working on. We do need art. We're working on a game called Hyperskate for PC VR applications right now. Making it an Unreal. Art is kind of a thing that we are missing. And when I say art in this specific case, I mean 3D visual assets. So we've got a very strong game design. We've got a very strong tech stack and the way we're building the systems for supporting the gameplay. We just don't have a distinct visual style. We've been working with 3 or 4 different artists, but they come and they go. It's very tricky being in a position of being, plucky indie with no funding, or the funding we get is from you guys on stream. So getting help for art it's a very, very big challenge. So if you like what you see, join the Discord, follow. I saw you already followed us. Thank you so much for that. We also simultaneously stream on YouTube. All the money that we get from stream goes directly into funding the studio. We don't even pay ourselves at this point because we can't afford to. So the money for it goes directly into the business to help us finish Hyperskate. When Hyperskate is done, that will fund new projects. We have about 5 that we're working on. Hyperskate is included. So there's 4 other projects in the pipeline that we want to get on and get done. So that's where we're at. Who's got the Etherconnect? Shit. I was trying to come up with some snake oil salesman, 1800s vendor guy that is selling ether.
Oh, look, there's more broken materials right there.
Dude, look at those wooden planks, man. Let's see. I'm missing some more comments.
Dude, acid, legit, kinda, yeah.
Did you already answer Turning Cog saying what asset pack you're exploring?
I did not. This is the Derelict Hallway example project that was published on Fab by Quixel this morning. So this is a new example project that they just put out. It, as you guys saw, it took 15 minutes after I hit play the first time to actually run, but it seems like it's procedurally generating everything. So it looks pretty good though. I would say this is one of the more high fidelity example projects that I've ever pulled down from them. So I don't know, that was pretty cool. Has some good sequences set up in it. Yeah, I don't know, seems like they did a good job.
LFQ said when he wins the Euro jackpot here on Friday, he's gonna hire an artist to do weird shit, which I think is awesome. Spend your money how you want, bro. We really appreciate you spending it on us.
We're open to angel investment, by the way.
Yeah, if you wanna make a return on that jackpot, brother, holler. Omni says
we could
tried
be
to-
LFQ Grove if you want to pay the bills. I'm into it.
Omni says I've tried to appreciate older famous art from the past, and honestly, I still don't get what makes good art and bad art. That's a very hard question to answer, and this dovetails into the thing I was saying about criticism.
Bro, I have a
culture.
college degree about that question, and I don't think they answered it. So
yeah, there's not an answer to it. Art is generally subjective. When I describe video games specifically as good or bad, what I talk about is the quality of craftsmanship. So what I mean by that is if you look at this example that Tony's saying, there's missing textures. That's not finished quality, right? So I would say this is, it would take some marks against its quality score in my mind just because of that. This is an arbitrary example. I'm sure this is just a broken reference or some shit. Seems like they do maybe have materials in here. I don't know. I haven't been watching.
The materials are there. They're just like broken on.
Yeah.
They're like packed level actors that they're using for everything. And it seems like when I go to the door mesh, it has the material, but when it's in the packed level actor, it doesn't. So I'd imagine they'll push an update for it, but a lot of the time, especially people like me, like I'll download this project and I won't download any updates for it. I'll just get the copy that I get initially.
Tom McGee says, I actually think what you get from art is 100% in the process. To produce art as its end result is like getting the answer to the question driving you forward in the first place. Yeah, totally. And I think every creative connects with their own art in a different way, but that's a part of the human experience. It's important. And when I say the human experience, I mean the fact that we are barely sentient animals on a planet with life exists, that we are the only known sentient beings on the planet, which means that we are aware of ourselves. We're not sure that animals are necessarily aware of themselves in the same way. We have just a different structure. We have societies. We build, shelter. We solve our hierarchy of needs. We've transcended the apex predator stuff in the natural order. So that's the human experience, because we are still animals and we still suffer from oh my god, I can't remember my biology and brain structure. We still have a lizard brain. We have a very simple level of thinking in certain ways, and not all humans have the ability to connect to their prefrontal cortex and have executive function and higher ways of thinking. There's a lot of people who are still just animals, smarter than most animals, but that's the human experience. It's hard. It sucks. We're aware that we all die at some point, and we're just trying to live and reconcile that fact. So when I say art inures you, as a tonic to inure you against the human experience, that's the thing I'm trying to say. It's really important to think about things and imagine, and that's why we have society. That's why we have technology. That's why we have video games, is because people just imagine new things, and that's potentially unique to humanity as far as animals and life on Earth. Let's see. You think Van Gogh was the first canceled artist? No. I don't think he was canceled. He was not appreciated while he was making art. People said his art sucked. He was trying to sell his shit at the farmer's market for a $1, whatever the equivalent was at that time in Dutch currency. But yeah, he couldn't survive on his art, and he was just kind of giving his shit away. So that's really fucked for him. I'm not impressed with the Mona Lisa. I look at it and I'm like, what the fuck? This chick is out of perspective, and it feels like the artist has mommy issues. That's kind of a weird take. But what you have to think about, Omni, is in the time period where the Mona Lisa was created, there was literally nothing else like it. And that led to people creating things to mirror that style of art and to elevate their own process and make better things. That's why the masters are all celebrated if you're looking at fine art, because they did a thing that fundamentally changed art for the rest of history. They made something that made everyone else think about what it is and what the human experience is in a completely different way. And it kind of shifted the whole perspective of humanity in a new direction. That's the power of art, I think. Let art be. Exactly, dopeness. Brightside's talking about the Ether Connect. Tony's making illicit commentary in chat. Hand-rolled networks made? I don't know. So Unreal has a lot of robust networking tools. We're probably going to go with peer-to-peer solutions because they're pretty good, and we're not making competitive games, so we don't need like a, global. What's it called? We don't need a server architecture where we have a It's not geolocated. I can't remember the right terminology right now. I'm having a struggle today, guys. When you put a server in a spot to service a region, we're not making that kind of a model for anything we're working on. We are seeking sugar daddies for sure. Just really any help in general. We've had a lot of people come and go that have contributed to the Hyperscape project. We've got some really cool people that are helping us out with it right now, which is really awesome. No such thing as good or bad art. This is where Tom McGee disagrees. I do agree with Tom on this. I think there is bad art. The best example I can give is when someone makes a very competent hand illustration that is literally only used for a stupid fucking meme in some forum or like on Reddit. And they're like, haha, I made this meme. And it's like, dude, you spent like 15 hours on that? What a waste of your fucking time. Like, why would you make that? It didn't make anyone feel anything other than lol and got you some fucking updates. Like, what a waste of time. That's bad art, in my opinion. Tom McGee, I am not answering or even reading that out loud. I just read your comments about that very old bad thing. Probably because he was a creepy ether addict that used his appendages as gifts. Oh, he was an ether addict. Yo, you're right. I forgot about that. Who wants art from a guy that might show up with his ear in a bag for you? I mean, LFQ says me, and I'm kind of fucking with that too. I don't want the dude's ear, but I like the thought. I think like the intention is the most important part, right? Because did
you ever study, like, you can get into like very weird surrealism and performance art and stuff, but like there's a very famous piece of art that's called artist shit, and an artist took a shit and put it in like a can of soup type thing, put a nice fancy label on it. I want to say it sold for like a lot of money back in the day. It was kind of like around the time of like Andy Warhol and
abstract impressionism.
Yeah, there's another one that's just like a urinal on a pedestal that is very, very famous. Art gets very weird.
I watched something that was suggesting that abstract impressionism was a CIA psyop to combat communism. I don't know if that's true, so I'm not trying to peddle conspiracy theories here. But
we have a Richard Still museum downtown, and if you're not familiar with that artist, he will do like 5 foot by 5 foot canvases, and the entire thing's painted red, and it has like a yellow line down the middle of it. And again, sell $50 million, something like that. He's like one of the most prolific artists of all time. And I have an art degree, and I'll just say out loud, I don't get it. Like, this is some people just act like they're like some of the best paintings ever made, and I'm like, I guess like I can kind of see some of the points you're making about like scale and commentary on art at the time and stuff, but it's just like, regardless of that, like, this is not that prolific. I just can't see it.
Okay, so I'll connect the dots here. The reason why is because the Soviet Union at the time created art that was for use in propaganda, and it was photorealistic renderings, fine art, traditional art, very rooted in that. And so to compete, you just flip the paradigm. And so that's where government funding that was started by JFK. I'm not going to mention the thing specifically because I'm not trying to get like tagged for political commentary or any of that shit. Who cares? It's relevant now because people are talking about it. At any rate, the funding went into promoting abstract impressionism and these like New York borough artists that were creating really weird shit that was commentary on the state of art itself because it was so fundamentally different. The core concept is that if you can create art for its own sake, that proves that capitalism and democracy is better than communism. So that was the point. And that's why we got Jackson Pollock. That's why we got Andy Warhol, is because of that. We're so free that people could take a shit in a can and say art is shit, and then people go, ha ha, I get it. Like that, nothing else existed like that at the time. So it was such a huge fucking flex on, like, you know, liberty. And the irony is that a lot of these guys were, you know, socialists or communists at the time and somewhat anti-American, but they were a tool being used by the American propaganda apparatus to combat those ideas. So that's the funniest shit to me, is like they were being used against their own social motivations and they didn't even know. Yeah, I abstract impressionism doesn't do anything for me. I find it to be very boring. I can't appreciate like pop art in some sense. I think Art Deco is kind of like the peak of where art came out of, like traditional, you know, master's style art creation, where it was the most realistic looking thing, you know, possible. And then it turned into this like really interesting thing with very compelling design languages that I'm into. I think Art Deco is really cool personally.
Oh yeah, I was watching a video last night about how like it was like the power plant thing I was telling you. They're talking about turbines, but since it was built in like the 30s,
he's pronouncing turbine in a strange way. In case you guys are wondering, he's not talking about a
timing video about a power plant, and the guy in it kept saying turbine instead of turbine. It was driving me crazy. But they're showing this power plant as a beautiful building, just like brick and stone craftsmanship and like ornate, you know, stuff along the molding and all of that, very Art Deco style. And it had an addition built onto it in like the 80s, and it was just like corrugated metal paneling and like framework just kind of like strapped onto the side of this beautiful craftsman building. But you would have really liked it because it's very Art Deco.
Hell yeah.
They used to care about shit like that. Amy was like, why would they even make it so fancy and nice? And I was like, this was like the pride of the community when it was open. Probably this like gave everybody a job. It was providing everybody electricity. Like they cared about this place, and it's not the same anymore.
For what it's worth, I think that style of art turned into like brutalist fascist art because they recognized the power of it, and that continued to evolve, and that's where we get abstract impressionism. So I would actually say, Sun Wukong, what kind of art do you consider wasting scam colors time? I'm choosing to read that in a way of like, what kind of art would you consider a waste of time and it's like a scam and all that? I would say abstract impressionism. And as we've established in chat through our conspiracy theory, that was the CIA psyop to prove that communism was bad. So there I would also push back on Tom McGee's statement that capitalism will never come to the conclusion that art is valuable in its own right, in its own process, art for art's sake. Capitalism is literally the reason why we have abstract impressionism, if you believe in this theory, which I haven't done the research myself. I'm parroting someone else's shit who has done the research, but that's what I heard. Brightside, you know, corroborates it. So brother, smoke a blunt? Nah, dude, I'm chilling. What do you mean? Pepe Silvia's coming out? Yeah, 100%. No, I mean, dude, if I smoke a blunt, I'd be like, this is real, chat. The CIA is doing a psyop on us about art. But no, Tommy Yee, I understand like the urge, especially nowadays, to be anti-capitalist. But I will say that as someone who grew up without means in a capitalist society, achieving everything I've achieved today is only possible because of capitalism. You find value, and when you create the value, the money begins to follow it. And that's literally just how capitalism works. If you have other systems in place that regulate it, the best ideas don't necessarily get to succeed because bureaucracy gets in the way of those ideas succeeding. So free market exchange is actually really good for art too. So that's my counterpoint to you.
This is probably a really good segue actually into Seth Rogen being in Call of Duty.
Yes, dude. Yes. Okay. All right. I wouldn't call that art. I mean, this is abstract impressionism art, right? The goal is to sell things. And I think like, oh God, like if we're talking about video game microtransaction art, this is like a new thing. I bet you art historians will give this a phrase. They'll call it some kind of art. Because you have to look at it and say like, okay, first of all, this is Call of Duty. Why in the fuck are we getting Blunt Man and Chronic, Jay and Silent Bob, specifically as those characters, alongside Apple TV, the studio Seth Rogen? What the fuck? Why in Call of Duty?
I love this picture right here. Like Seth Rogen in the battle pass. It's great.
Yep, exactly. It's perfect, dude. It's fucking perfect. This is the snake eating itself, guys. That's my problem, kinda. It's the only way that things are possible. Oh, I see what you mean. Well, I mean, you could make traditional fine art for sure. At risk of saying something super crazy, ignoring the politics, there's a documentary I saw it was produced by Leonardo DiCaprio and directed by his brother about this Polish fascist artist who made stuff for the Socialist Party in Germany during that time period when Poland was occupied by Germany. His name was Jukalski. He was a master of Art Deco and Brutalist design, and he made all this stuff. And the reason why we don't see his works is because that party destroyed all of his stuff that was Polish national identity. They burned his museum to the ground. They destroyed all of his work. So he fled to the United States and died in obscurity. It's fucking crazy. So the documentary is really interesting. The dude himself has some wacky fucking ideas that I don't agree with. So just take that with a grain of salt. There's some crazy ass shit that this guy says. But his art is unmistakably unique and very compelling just on its own. He does a lot of like sculpture of hands that I thought were really cool. The struggle of the working class versus the bourgeoisie, all kinds of stuff like style. He makes some very cool stuff. Again, the guy's crazy. The guy went through some shit. His history is very interesting. But that was a good documentary. I really like that. I ended up buying an art book that like sort of collated all of his works too, just to take a look at it because I wanted to see more of like what he made. And again, the vast majority of his body of work doesn't exist because it was destroyed by the Socialist Party run by Germany in during the occupation of Poland. So that's a tragedy. Like we have no idea what kind of cool shit that guy made because it's just gone. Is that a studio branded skin? I don't know if it is, Brightside.
No, I was trying to look and they never mention the name of the show in any of the marketing that I can find. They just say, join actor, comedian, and filmmaker Seth Rogen on an epic high art journey.
That's a nod to the studio. So they must not have been able to license the studio specifically, but I bet in consulting with getting the rights for it,
yeah, they like
nodded to it indirectly, but he basically dresses like that in every episode of the studio.
I got this Weed Man skin.
The Weed Man, yo, dude, he got the gas mask. How does he even see?
I know, right? I mean, he's got plants growing out of him, like he's on that pyramid in that movie where those white people go on the Aztec pyramid from the 2000s, and vines start growing out of their skin.
Nice. Oh shit! Speaking of art, bro. Speaking of art, we got Art in chat, and he just wanted to say hello, but he couldn't stick around. So what's up, Art? Thanks for stopping by. I hope you heard us acknowledge you. We appreciate that you're here.
What is that movie called now? It's gonna drive me crazy. The Ruins. There we go.
Okay.
It wasn't very good. But you know, classic 2000s horror. Like you see, like them have to cut off a guy's leg and solder it with a frying pan, or cauterize it with a frying pan, and some stuff like that.
Hell yeah, dude. The Ruins, is that the one with like these like ancient creatures or whatever?
No, that's like these like white people are on a vacation in Mexico, and they like stumble upon some like Mayan ruins in the jungle, and they like go up onto them, and then when they're coming back down to come off, there's all these like indigenous people around, and they won't let them step off the pyramid. And anytime they try, like somebody eventually tries to like shoot them with an arrow and kill them. So they like go and like camp up on top of the pyramid, and like over time they start like getting really sick, and like vines and shit start like growing out of their skin, and like I can't remember exactly what happens, but like they're, you know, infected or something by something on the pyramid, and that's why they won't let them come off of it, because they don't want it to like escape or something.
I got it.
Yeah, I mean, if Seth Rogen, to you guys' point, needs to sound like Pineapple Express or something like constantly while you're playing, or it's not worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
He just needs to be like screaming and laughing and just, you know, all the things that he would normally do in like an action sequence in a movie. That would be funny. I would be into that.
Hashtag free Seth Rogen. I mean, he's pretty free. I think he's living his best life, to be honest.
I mean, they give him like weed armor, and I think this stock maybe looks like it's smoking a joint. I don't know if you guys have seen some of the other like weed Call of Duty things. There's like a gun that's a bong. We clearly have like the Weed Man here. I guess are they doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too? I saw some.
Those are already in, yeah.
Okay.
Sun Wukong says, I pretend to be a 69-year-old frisky grandma with Medicare Part A and B. When Tom Henry calls me and tells me about all the benefits I can have, I start feeling a bit too good. Nice. I don't really know what you mean. I'm not sure why I read that out loud, because it might be a weird fucking thing out of context, but I appreciate the contribution to chat. I hope I answered your question about art that you mentioned earlier. So yeah, Brightside's just laughing. I just fucking read what's on the teleprompter, man. Fuck you, San Diego. Oh, it was a talk about wasting phone scammers' time. Yes, dude. Yes. Good call. Thank you, LFQ. Keep me grounded here.
Have you guys seen this new thing? You can do this thing on your website now with Cloudflare. That's called the AI Labyrinth. And basically, if an AI starts crawling your website and trying to scrape the content, it's like designed to like get it stuck in like an endless loop of like clicking on links forever and just wasting its own time.
Nice. That's amazing. Thank you. You got there quicker. Yeah. LFQ, good guy. LFQ out here just keeping me on task.
All right, if we can take this back to Unreal Engine things again, Has anybody who's still here messed around with this Project Titan thing at all? I've opened this up in the past, but I always meant to do it on stream, and then we never did. But if you guys remember, this is the collaborative project that Epic Games did, where anybody could like download this template and then submit their thing that they made, and then they're just gonna like, kind of like strap them all together in some sort of like open world setup that streams. Find the main map and content maps Titan main.
Turning Cog says he poked around in Titan a bit. Boom got the popcorn out. I love it.
Let's take a look. Let's see. Titan main. I remember going in here and it just, there's not much to it other than it just being like, I think kind of a way to show off how you could maybe theoretically stream like an unlimited amount of content in the game if you designed it to do so. Because this thing is huge and it was contributed to by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. And I've walked around in it a little bit, but yeah.
Okay, hold on. Is this actually Randy Pitchford? I think I have some new Randy Pitchford commentary, which is always great. Come on, mention Randy specifically, article. All right, anyway, let's just pretend it's Randy Pitchford. We'll say this. Gearbox boss denies Borderlands 4 date change is due to GTA 6 or, quote, any game. Randy Pitchford wiling out. Yep, it was him. So he's like, nah, we didn't change the release schedule for Borderlands 4 because other games might be dangerous to our marketing plan. Bro, what are you saying? How could you fuck me like this?
I saw people implying that the Titanfall cancellation was because of Marathon.
I think that's inaccurate.
It's probably inaccurate, but that's just what people are saying. All right, I'm just going to drop into like the middle here. We'll see what happens.
I could see that the cancellation was in part informed by that, but if you look at the online discourse, I don't see a lot of positive. There's lukewarm takes or just gross, and I mean not disgusting, I mean in large amount, negativity around Marathon, and people are saying it's Concord 2. And yeah, I won't get started on that, but I don't think that sentiment would cause EA to cancel a Titanfall extraction shooter. I think that probably comes more from like market testing and all kinds of other shit. Yeah, there's a lot of focus groups and shit that happen at the high level, especially with publishers. Oh, who's that guy?
I guess this is the character that we're gonna be. We're still preparing a lot of shaders, but
okay, I'm just gonna say bad character design. Why is your hair sticking out through your helmet? Why are you wearing a helmet if it's not sealed? I don't get it. That's not a crash helmet. Are the ears sticking out too, or are those like helmet ears? Those are helmet ears.
I guess we're gonna find out when the texture loads. What does F do? It says walk. Oh, what?
New Fortnite season map. Borderlands and another game pushing the release date up because they didn't want to compete with GTA 6. Yep. 100%, dude. 100%. Why would you want to, like, honestly, just say it. Just fucking say it out loud. Just be like, yeah, it's dangerous for us to try to release alongside that. Just like Tony said, people can play one game at a time. It's crazy to not just be open about it. Brightside, since we were talking about Mythic Quest, Randy Pitchford gives big Iron vibes. 100%. I also love that at some point in the show he goes, "My name is actually Ian, but I decided to start calling myself Ian." And everyone just expects that, or like respects that. Yeah, Borderlands guy's Randy Pitchford. He's pretty famous for like social media crash outs. There was a Borderlands 3 review and they said like it was mid, and he responded to the journalist when they posted a link on Twitter, and he goes, "How could you fuck me like this?" It's so fucking funny. Who's gonna get GTA 6 on release versus waiting a week? I'm not gonna get it on release, but that's because I'm not really a big GTA fan.
It's $100 too. That's gonna be a hard sell for I think a lot of people.
Yeah, I get bored in GTA, honestly. Yeah, Tom McGee, I agree. That's kind of hard. I love that Randy Pitchford went that deep on this journo. It was fucking amazing. Are we gonna get a PC on release? I don't think we know, Brightside. Yeah, shaders are good. Yeah, I'm on PC too. Have to wait a year. I mean, I could get it on the PS5, but like, I don't care. I just find that like the types of art I like to consume are not like true crime or rooted in, you know, the normal human experience of how society works. I like fantasy and just crazy ideas and going to a new place that doesn't mirror reality. That's what I was trying to say. And yeah, GTA, I think, glorifies violence and criminal activity, at least in some part, not nearly as bad as Schedule 1. And I just personally don't think that that's good stuff for society. Just like a banana taped to a wall is not good stuff for society either, as commentary on art. Does anyone have in chat have a suggestion on a model to make? Well, let me tell you something, Sun Wukong. You could make some models for Hyperskate stuff, and that would be really cool. If you want to see a trailer for what we're working on, there's a trailer at the top there. This is all using like marketplace assets and our best guess. You're gonna make an AK? Oh man, you asked for a suggestion and now you're gonna make an AK. All right, that's okay. Boom, Hyperskate models. Yes, boom.
I've been trying to make Hyperskate models myself recently, and I have what I think are good ideas, but I just cannot figure out how to make them in Blender yet. So that's been the hardest part for me, but I'm learning.
Wait, what was the Tim Schafer Mr. Shitface thing? I don't think I'm familiar with that one. Hyperskate bikini models? Give me some context, LFQ. Where do you want the bikini models to be? Like on the side when you're doing like a race or something and they're like cheering you on? Or are you saying like player character model in a bikini? And before Brightside suggests it, jiggle physics, yeah? Yo, thank you for the resub, Anime. Thanks, brother. Hope you're
The
having a
stuff
good
I'm
morning.
always thinking about for Hyperskate right now is like, for lack of a better term, just like skate park stuff, like things that we can use as like ramps and jumps and interesting terrain and, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess in all seriousness, Sun Wukong, if you legitimately want to have a conversation about it, we need environment art and character art, and I can try to give you, art direction best I can as not an art director but a creative director. So I can give you shit like 2 words, blood, ocean. I'm just fucking around. I can actually give you better direction than that. But yeah, it'd be really cool. Like if you're, I'd be happy to talk to you more about it, and get into some details. That's usually what we talk about on Wednesdays. Thursdays, tomorrow, we're going to play Marathon. Then I'm going to kind of do like a game design deep dive and talk about what I think is good about it, or like, couched in the experience of like, what is good game design, why this exists, not I'm a player and this is what I want and this is what I don't like because it's not like this other game. I'm not going to do that shit. I talk like you spend more than a half second thinking about jokes. I mean, bro, I have a lot of trust and confidence in your contribution to conversations, LFP. So it's also more fun to just embellish on things and like really dive into it. I'm a chronic joke ruiner. It's one of my favorite things. Someone will try to tell a joke and then I go, well, see, here's the problem with your premise. And they're like, God damn it. Like, stop doing that.
Or you'll send them like a video of something that's very obviously about like something specific, and the only response you'll get back is like, why was that wall in the background green? And it's just like, yep. So then now I play the game of like, when I send the thing, I try to figure out what he's gonna pick to like hone in on that has nothing to do with the thing that actually matters. So that's kind of fun. But
yeah, me too, LFQ. It's like it's a horrible compulsion. I feel like very drawn to just murdering people's jokes, and I'll do it full deadpan and really lean into the bit and be very serious about my response, because on the inside I am just beaming with joy at destroying someone else's joke. So yeah, it's a bad habit. I can't stop. I posted in your showcase in Discord.
Project Titan thing too here for a minute. Like, I always thought this was weird because I'm kind of remembering some of the things I thought the first time I opened this, which is like, and Epic has made statements about like, this is not a good example of how to build a game or really to use any of our tools. We just wanted to kind of see if we could like do this giant collaboration thing and put it together, and we did. But it feels so janky and frankly not well made that like I almost don't understand why they put it out. Like, you can just see like the camera just like randomly spins because I think like the lag is messing it up or something. I'm not even touching the mouse when it's like spinning around like that while I'm trying to walk. And I don't know, just like randomly the glider will come out, the shaders are constantly being compiled. It just, I don't totally understand why they wanted to put this out like this. I would have thought it would be cool if they could, make it a little more cohesive than they did.
Thank you for sharing that, Sun Wukong. That's really cool. The geometry looks really good. I think your front sight is a little big. That's just me. And I can't quite look at the rear sight posts too closely, but I think the basic geo is really good. I think the materials, I'm looking at it in 3D Viewer on Windows. I don't know if that was the format you intended to send it in. But I think the lighting is really weird in the 3D viewer.
I'm gonna put you on the spot and open it in Blender here.
Oh shit! Yeah, is that cool? Can we look at it on stream? Are you okay with that?
Maybe Blender maybe didn't like that.
If you don't want us to look at it on stream, we can back out and not do it. Of course. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Sun Wukong. Really appreciate you sharing too, and thank you for joining the Discord. Let's see. If they're gonna tell us not to do it that way, fucking show us the right way to do most of this shit. Show us how ladders and doors should function. Turning cog.
That's what I'm saying here. Like I was excited for this because we don't have a world partition example from Epic yet, in my opinion, that actually shows you how to use it and how to build like a really big open world level. And I was excited that I thought this was going to be that, and it very much is not.
This is Project Titan, right, Tony?
Yes.
That's that answers your question, Anime.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try to open this in Blender.
Oh, it's an AI model. Picture to model. Okay, cool. Interesting.
Can I not import a GLB into here?
You might have to export as an FBX if you can do that, unless we can convert to FBX or something. Okay, yeah, here the geo looks bad here. I gotta say, it's too bubbly, especially for a hard surface model. There's
might be something with the way I imported it too. I am not super good at these things, so.
Sample game from Epic for UE5. Yeah, I don't think it's a game, but yeah, it's a sample project for sure.
Oh, so was this generated by an AI? Is that what you were saying? Because this looks like AI topo for sure.
Yeah, the topology is pretty wonky there.
Yeah. It's interesting though, for sure. Like we're definitely getting to a point where, you know, this stuff is going to start being usable here sooner rather than later.
Tom McGee's crashing out. Oh God. Oh no. Tom McGee, you having problems with those tries or what? Turning Cog says it's a sample environment that has some characters and movement. Yep, that's a really good way to describe it for anime.
What, Project Titan?
Yeah.
Yeah, Project Titan was a collaborative project that Epic Games put out with a template, and any team could go and effectively build like a section of the map, and then Epic Games took all of the submissions and edited them together into one giant level that works like open world. And like I was saying, it doesn't work very good, but all of the pieces are kind of there. You can see here's like a real-time map of the entire thing. I think this is all derived from like the HLODs or something.
Fortnite map.
So some parts of this, like it would be great if we could put this in Hyperskate. This is like the type of thing that we probably need in Hyperskate, and I need to kind of try to dig into how they did this. But some of it is like really stupid. And you see, like I don't know why it's doing this.
Tom McGee, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I was trying to be like as positive as I could, as like not, you know, an art director, and give like real feedback instead of being like, okay, so your AI generated topology was really funky. The edges were too soft, especially for, like I was saying, for a hard surface model. It kind of came out as like bubbly, and the front side is way too big. The lighting is really fucking weird. Like if you look at the top, you have a full shadow on the top of the model. And I don't know if that's just because of the way the AI did the materials. But
it might be my Blender scene too. This is just like default Blender.
No, it looked like that in the 3D model viewer that I opened it in, for sure. So like I got the same lighting issues, and I had a couple different things to like change lighting, and I was moving the sliders around. So it's almost there. But what I would say, okay, so if you modeled this yourself, I would say that this seems like, and I mean this in the nicest way, please don't think I'm trying to shit on it. It looks like a first-year art student's model. Someone who's like really trying to experiment with stuff and learn new techniques. So this is like, or someone who just doesn't understand fundamental techniques about 3D modeling. And I promise you, I'm not trying to say that like you should know this and I expect better. That's not what I mean at all. I'm just saying where I see fundamental problems with the model itself. So it's cool that like, God, this would be tough. Because like if you made AI output this and you bring it into Blender and you want to fix the model, I almost feel like it's more work than it's worth than if you just started with a box and extruded from there. And then
as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking of the things that the 3D artists that we were looking at recently were talking about, how like when you model guns, it really helps to understand how guns work, because like all of these things are separate pieces, and I would argue the models tend to look better when like you model the barrel and you put it inside of the handguard and you connect it to the receiver and then you stick the magazine in it. It really allows you to just kind of like, you know, understand how it all fits together and how like this thing should be shaped this way because otherwise this pin would go through it and that'd be physically impossible, and you know, just stuff like that. So I think it's really cool though, just on the flip side, if you just gave a 3D model this image that you're showing us here and it spit out this model, like
that's very cool.
That's pretty cool. I think to Vince's point though, if you wanted to like take this and make it into like a really well made like game ready 3D model, it would probably be faster to just start from scratch.
Yeah. And I think Tony's advice was really, really good. Start with the pistol grip. Start with the magazine. The magazine has a lot of really funky edges on it that are probably going to be finicky and hard to do, especially if you're learning how to 3D model. I think barrel would
expose myself here while we're talking about this. This is probably as good as I can do on modeling a gun right now. I've been trying to work on this mechanic for a while.
Oh, we got Adder back. Also, Lander wants to know what's the polygon count on that bad boy. Do you happen to know?
Let me go back to it.
Okay, it's gonna be high.
Oh, it's gonna be insane. So we go in here.
And I hope you appreciate this, Sun Wukong. We're not. I promise you, we're not trying to like shit on anything. We're trying to be
like. You guys gotta tell me how to find the polygon count in Blender, and then I'll tell you.
How to give your dog a bath? Nice. I hope your dog is nice and clean now. Always more work than worth working on someone else's model. Yes. Yup. 1000%. Trying to fix.
I mean, if this is going to be like a model, a background object that's going to be like this big on the screen ever, it's probably good enough.
Yeah, totally.
Should be in the status bar. I have it selected. What the hell is the status bar?
We don't know 3D modeling tools.
Yeah, I'm learning, but I don't know this one yet. Oh, never mind. You have to enable it in preferences. Well, let's find out.
Yeah, thank you, Lander.
Am I just looking for status bar?
Sun Wukong says it's 40,000 polys.
Okay. Developer extras? What am I looking for here?
Preferences, interface, scene statistics checkbox.
Scene statistics. Am I blind? Status bar. Here we go. Scene statistics. Okay. We got 55,000 tries.
That's a lot of triangles.
Or that might include mine as well, but yeah.
Well, Sun Wukong said it was 40,000, so I think that's probably...
Like when I delete it, I've got 5,000 tries left here, so it's about 50,000 tries when I import it, at least.
Okay, so your pistol model is 5,000 tries?
It is 5,074 tries, as is.
Bam. Okay, so there you go. That's good information, Sun Wukong. The reason why yours looks so bubbly is because it has too many tries. There's too much geometry there. Look how simple the
In no way am I saying this is good model. Either. This is just me like trying to learn how to use Blender. But
it's also just better
trying to show like this is kind of my beginner work that I know is not very good.
I think it's a great beginner project, Tony.
I'm pretty happy with it like, compared to where I started. Like,
yeah,
this was a very good learning experience, and I feel a lot more confidence in just kind of making basic models now. But I've been trying to do some more advanced stuff recently and struggling to figure it out. But I did try to take the approach here. I wanted to show this of like every single thing that you're seeing here is a separate piece. So I have like the front sight, I have the front tritium, I have the grip plate that goes on the back of the handle here. I have the handle itself. We've got the magazine. We've got the rear sight. We've got the slide. We've got the trigger, so on and so forth. So base plate. I don't even know what that one is. That one might just be cube. Yep.
There you go. Adder gives really good metrics. 8,000 to 25,000 tries is a good window for a non-hero weapon and prop. So what he means by that is if this exists in your game and it can be dropped on the ground, great. That you want very low poly. If it's held in first person and the camera's right next to it, you want 90,000. So there's trade-offs here. And I think yours looks bubbly because of how the AI generated that mesh. And you need to refine it down. I think Tony's got a really good suggestion here in modeling each piece and then sticking them together. That's a really good way to go about it, and it's going to be much more clean for you. The best methods I know are box extrusion. I don't know if that's still a standard practice. This is like 15, 20 years ago that I learned this shit. So, and I don't model stuff. So trust chat. You've got a lot of experts in here. Tom McGee, I know that I was mentioning to Sun Wukong that we need art. That offer stands for you too. Like literally anyone in chat, if you guys want to talk to us about art and you want to contribute to Hyperskate, we're very open to that. Hit us up. No pressure, but it'd be really cool. We've had a couple different people express interest. We've had some people come through in chat and make some assets for us, mostly like some helmets, some armor bits, and some like board prototypes for the players in Hyperskate.
Burnout, that's how we made the terrain for Hyperskate, is the LiDAR terrain dump.
OG Tomb Raider try count? Yeah, 5. Yeah, that's perfect. Bright says, I've used AI models as well, and even if you just go and use the decimate modifier, it'll knock those triangles down and won't cause
that's a good
fidelity. There you go.
Right, for sure. And honestly, like something like an AK-47 is somewhat complex, but I imagine if you try to have an AI 3D model thing, you know, pop out a building that goes in the background or a rock or like a little plant or something like that, it probably come out fairly usable. It probably has like 100,000 tries for like a rock, and you need to decimate it in Blender first, but you know, I don't see too much wrong with that.
Yo, thank you for sharing.
But though, if you need a rock, like go on Fab or Quixel though, like you don't even need to use an AI to get a rock. There's plenty of game ready rocks that are completely free.
Tom McGee, you're in the Discord, yeah? If you want to drop it there, that'd be awesome.
Burnout, look at opentopology.org is where I was getting everything. I want to say they had some data sets, just depending on the part of the world you were looking for, that could go into like 1 meter accuracy, maybe 3 meter accuracy, something like that. But they're pretty good, and they're totally open source and free, and that's again the basis for the entire Hyperskate level that we always show off.
I also, since we're coming up near the end here, I want to throw out tomorrow I'm going to play Marathon on stream and give commentary, reaction, feedback, whatever, from the perspective of a professional game designer that worked at Bungie for 5 years. So I'm going to be talking about what my impressions are of the game while playing the game. Let me allow that, Lander. Depends on what area.
Lander, absolutely. You can use that LiDAR scanner on your phone to like turn real stuff into 3D objects very easily now, from what I understand.
So, I mean, yeah, do whatever you want. If you want to use your crotch, go for it, bro.
That's also how we did I don't know if you guys were here for the Halloween thing we did, where we like made Vince into like the giant Power Rangers face. That was using the iPhone LiDAR scanner.
Anime, I will let you know. It's possible that I'll do that if I like kind of run out of steam and design conversation material. But mostly what I'm probably going to do is not focus on gameplay, do solo no fill and run around as like Void and stealth a lot and avoid fighting, and, you know, show you guys stuff that I think is interesting, or good talking points for understanding game design and like design choices and why people make things and put them in their video games and all that. So that's where I'm gonna try to skew that perspective. I did also mention, I don't know when this will happen, but I do still have friends at Bungie that work on Marathon, and one of them seemed open to having a conversation that is like an interview, where like a couple game designers are chatting and talking about game design. So we could have a person who worked on Marathon talk to us about their work. So no promises yet. I still have to figure out the details, but that could be really fun and interesting. We'll let you guys know when that's happening and if that's happening.
This player controller in this project is actually making me mad. This is infuriating.
Yep.
So bad. Holy shit.
I mean, the character model itself was pissing me off with the toes.
The fact that like the lag makes the camera swing just makes me want to turn it off. Like, oh my god.
Dinked around with rerun.io. Not me.
I don't know that I've heard of that.
My blood
really
texture was just doing the same thing, man.
Data stack for physical AI. Is this like a computer vision thing?
Tom McGee says this looks rough, Tony. Yeah, I think he's feeling that. He's very mad at it.
It was pissing me off. It was stupid. Like, they could have just put the flying orb in from the Derelict Hallway project, and that would have been a way more enjoyable experience.
So Turning Cog, the answer to your question is one of the things that we have to figure out is I need to talk to their PR team and see what they're comfortable with. It might be a case where, like, I do an interview off stream and record that and then play it for you guys. I hope that's not it, and we can do like kind of a live Q&A and talk with this dude. I did stuff with this guy when I was working on Destiny, and he was a content creator. So hopefully it all balances out and we can make something really interesting for you guys. That's fun, and we can, like, you know, have questions from chat come in and stuff like that. So we'll figure it out. And obviously, like, there's going to be some shit that he just can't answer. So yeah, I think that'll be a part of it, is like, I want to sit down with him and go over like a list of questions that we can talk about that we think is compelling before we go live. So we're not, you know, my goal is not, I don't want to be like, I'm recalling a time back when the studio had Gathalion come on and ask questions of Deej, and he was like very smug and smirky and sarcastic and just being a piece of shit. I'm not going to do that at all. I'm not going to glaze this. I'm going to give this guy a chance to speak about his own work, ask him questions very specific to game design. That's where we're going with it. So don't expect it to be like ooh, got him. We got him, chat. It's not that at all. It's going to be more like a ride along, like a, you know, what were you thinking when you made this kind of thing? And then he can talk about like some of his inspirations and stuff like that. Cause I think that shit's really fun and interesting. So that's kind of where I want to go.
Well, this one is interpreting a 3D scene between two images. That's fucking crazy.
We could definitely try to do a 1v1 at the end of the interview, but I don't think you can duel in Marathon. It's like, you know, anyone you match up against is kind of random. It's the matchmaking system. He might kick my ass because he's been playing the game for a lot longer. When we played together this weekend, and he's definitely more aware of how to make good decisions in Marathon than I am. So he would absolutely have an advantage. Coming down to pure mechanics, I'm sure we would be, you know, pretty evenly matched.
Can you kill your team?
No, there's no friendly fire. I just want to know the Marathon devs are making a game they like. Tom, in my experience talking with this dude about his experience working on the game, he's very excited about it. But I would say, and this is just a general thing, you know, like I was talking about the creative process, and when you make something, you're really nervous before it goes out to the public. Like I was this way with the Whisper. I didn't know if it was going to be good. I had a gut feeling that it was at least okay for me, but I didn't know if that would resonate with the player community. And it turns out it did, and it went really well. So there's a lot of like anxiety and fear before you come up to a major release, because you never know how people are going to react. And with the reactions that people have had on social media talking about it, you know, people who aren't even playing it, it's very mixed. And I imagine that's probably the reason why they chose to lift the NDA on the alpha and let people stream it, because I do think the game plays really well. And just letting people talk about their experience is a risky decision. But in their case, they've made something that I think is good, and they're trying to let it stand on its own merit. And that's very brave. And I appreciate that they're doing that. I think it's really good that they're doing that. Lander's asking you a couple questions, Tony. I'm curious, do you see this type of vision biped tracking to be useful in game dev? I legitimately don't know if it's something that's good enough to replace real mocap in some scenarios or not.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I think especially for like more of like an indie setup, a Rococo motion tracking setup costs like $15,000 minimum, and goes way up from there, like 10x, and that gives you like one suit. And if you wanted to do this scene, you know, you'd need 10 of those or something like that. You know, I don't do a ton of 3D and animating yet. As you can tell, I'm still learning it, but I do think that in most cases, motion tracking is used as a basis for an animation, and then it's cleaned up by an artist so that it looks better. And my argument would be that as these algorithms get better and better, you're just going to be able to like kind of do that workflow without having to put the suit on, and you could do it with your iPhone. And you know, that's going to make at least indies especially a lot more capable of setting stuff like this up. And Vince and I have talked about a lot of way more crazy esoteric ideas for computer vision than motion capture too. Like the one that comes to mind immediately for me is shooting range that is like Topgolf.
Yeah, it'd be really cool.
You can only do it with computer vision. The reason that I say this is because since you're shooting things with guns, any equipment, sensors, whatever, like there's no sensor that can like detect where it gets shot with an actual gun and like still function and work. So you would have to point cameras at something that could determine where the bullets were hitting them. And then you could start using projectors and projection mapping and all sorts of crazy shit in combination with computer vision to create kind of like a gamified, like Topgolf type scenario where, you know, you're shooting guns or something like that.
Also, to answer the question, Lander, in my experience, being adjacent to, if not, you know, slightly a part of the process from a design perspective of like, here's the vision of what we're making in, you know, at Bungie with the mocap team. Mocap itself takes a lot of time. There's multiple takes that have to be done. Capture doesn't work super great sometimes. You have to redo every, you know, sequence and stuff like that. And then once you get all those outputs, it's like tens of hours of time cleaning up animations and fixing in betweens and stuff. So there's a lot of animation and traditional animation techniques that still go into the process. And I imagine you're going to be in the same position even with this like LiDAR thing. But to Tony's point, it's going to be cheaper doing it that way than buying the full mocap rig, hiring experts, maintaining the equipment, and then having animators on top of it. So I think traditional mocap is just very, very expensive. So the positive side of this is that it could potentially reduce costs. You still have the skilled craftsman component of it, where you need an animator to go in and like polish everything up and fix it. So it's not.
If you look at this, like one of the things they're talking about here too is like, even if you're doing a traditional one camera setup, you're only getting two-dimensional data. It's kind of having to infer the 3D scene. But then down here, they start talking about like, well, if you give it two cameras, you can not only have two different camera angles, but you can start combining that data together, and you have a way to triangulate the scene and create actual three-dimensional information from it that, you know, is ultimately just going to give you like a much more accurate track than you would get otherwise. And yeah, this is very cool.
I'm just glad that chat is glazing my idea by calling it $1 million idea of doing a Topgolf shooting range. Blood Ocean, guys. This is why I do what I do.
And like, I feel like this one too, I thought this one was pretty interesting. It's talking about how like in traditional 3D scanning, we don't take advantage of the fact that a lot of stuff is made up of straight lines. And if we look at the AK-47 model we were looking at before, it looked very bulbous and rounded and approximated because it's trying to kind of narrow in from like a point cloud basically on the shape. But if we could detect stuff like the edges, I would argue that there's trying to say that you don't even really need the point cloud in between the edges to some extent, because you can just draw the straight lines. And, you know, so you'll just start seeing things like this. This is like not even that, you know, new of a technology. This is just an improvement on 3D scanning. It's probably just going to make it a lot more accurate and take less processing power and give you a better end result at the end of the day. And the actual hardware that you would use to capture this doesn't have to change. You probably use the same. This has to be a drone video. You just use the same drone video that you would have used before, but now you're going to get a much better output out of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, Boom, take notes. Blood Ocean. I don't know what it is yet.
That's where I'm going to throw the character for this Project Titan.
Into the Blood Ocean. Yeah.
Yep. All right,
yeah.
Let's wrap it up. But
yeah, we got it. Cool. So tomorrow we're gonna do former Bungie designer of 5 years, impressions on Marathon. I'm going to talk about game design. We're going to try to make some content out of that, put it up on the YouTube. So if you can't show up for the live stream, hopefully we will have a shorter edit that just has the meat and the, you know, the good stuff in there. Shout out to Anime Figurines who's helping us with video edits. Thank you so much for that. You're awesome. So you guys should hopefully be able to see some new content from us that is just more than a live stream. The reason why we've got someone helping us with that is because if we put a lot of effort into the live stream, we're not putting effort into making Hyperskate. So we are focused on our game. We're trying to do this other part. As we grow and scale, the quality of everything's going to go up. So yeah, that's where we're at. When is live reacts to the Cardi video dropping? Bro, I have many reactions to Cardi stuff. I'd be happy to talk to you about Cardi for way too long. Where can I invest in the Topgolf idea? Click on subscribe on YouTube. Click on subscribe in Twitch. And we have a coffee link.
Because I hit him with the coffee link.
So you can hit that shit right there, and that will
believe it or not, we've been taking investment since we started doing this.
Yes, sir. Make sure you hit that bell. Yeah. Burnout, you're already in all the things and you already subbed, so thank you for that. But yeah, the like, no joke, the Topgolf shooting range thing was like a 2-year-old idea. I've been thinking about this for a while. There's a lot of concerns. Safety obviously being the chief one, but I think there's a way you can make it work. You just got to find the right investors. But I think it'd be really fucking cool. You might have to do something like Simunition instead of like live rounds, but there's probably a way to make it work. I guess I don't want to give away too much of the idea, but yeah, I got thoughts. I've been thinking about it for a while. Anime sends those to me and Vince, and we get the raw Vince reacts all the time. Yeah.
Burnout, you always talk about merch, so if there's like a specific thing that you're like, I will buy that when you sell it.
Fractal Grove hoodie, bro. That's what he says.
What it is, and I'll make sure that that is in the first drop of stuff that we make.
Yeah, we'll do it, bro.
Do you want a zip? Do you want a pullover? Do you want colors? You know, whatever you want.
Screenshot the Topgolf idea. I don't know
if anybody wants to make the Topgolf idea, like I'm willing to invest some time into putting it together. It just it would never work because of insurance, but
yeah,
I still think it's awesome. And you know, it could be a system that you could sell to shooting ranges potentially, but I don't know.
There's just so much safety concern like along with that, but I have plenty of ideas for like how you even play it and what the games are and all that shit. So don't even worry. We could put a pitch together. We just need to be connected with the right people who could help make it happen. It would be a considerable investment, especially for safety. You're gonna need a battery.
That's the other part is like, how do you make it into like this like place where you go and like chill with your homies on Friday night and like have some drinks and food? Doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Yep.
No zip would allow for a cooler logo. I totally agree. You want a big like tree on the front? I'm thinking like a gray one with like the black logo.
I have a strict only zip hoodie requirement for myself, but
MMORPG Topgolf streams coming soon. Yeah, we're building the next revolutionary MMO that will kill WoW.
You do like Coin Pusher Topgolf VR or something like that. I don't know. All these ideas constantly swirling.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, cool. I think we wrap it up there. Come around tomorrow. I'm going to do marathon reactions. I guess not reactions is probably the wrong way to think about it. Game design analysis, talking about what I think they did, why they did these certain things, instead of going like, I don't like this character's kit. I don't like hero shooter. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to be talking specifically about what the game is, why the game is, what I think that they're, you know, going for. So, yeah, I think that's it. Tony, you got any final thoughts? Also, LFQ, thank you so much for the $50 today. And thank you for the resub from everybody.
It was a fun stream, though. I thought everybody's been here for a lot of it and talked about some good stuff. And sorry, my voice is totally fried up and sick. But yeah, we'll be back around tomorrow. Appreciate all of you.
Thanks, buds. Pogs in chat. We're all pogging right now about Topgolf.